at that point, and they can't really do much about it. And if you have something like the Beastmaster, it kind of becomes a biatch to focus stuff down because they just like gargoyle it and you lose all your air. So, interesting technique used by the Undead player here. He's basically opting for a flank strategy. With the Undead base, this is probably the best thing to do. Generally, you'd focus on heroes or just nuke their units, but since they're Dryads, you kind of have to use damage output to your side. And Meat Wagon's always a great addition, especially because of how much damage it does. Generally, I'd get a couple more A-bombs before I did this, but that's just me. Especially because the Meat Wagon's pretty vulnerable, and with the range of the Priest of the Moon and the Dark Ranger, Mira Shadewither, it's kind of risky to have a Meat Wagon out front. So you kind of want to have a good solid front line. And if you're going to do that, best thing to do is keep a whole bunch of sacrificial skulls. What am I thinking? Rods of Necromancy with you, so you can just build up a whole bunch of skeletons. At least you waste time of theirs with the dispel and having to find them, so they won't, focus fire other crap while they're trying to dispel. The Undead player is setting up a second slaughterhouse. This is one of the other strategies that you can go other than the Ghoul Gargoyle, which is the A-Bomb Meat Wagon. Generally, you keep a statue with you at least. For the heal, you don't keep it for the mana. If you are running low on mana, it's probably time to get out of the battle anyways. But one thing that you can do is if you are running low on mana and you have the health heal on autocast, you can just click the, I believe it's Essence of Blight, the blue icon. Oh, Spirit Touch, that's the one. Either way, you click the one that isn't activated, and you can use both at the same time. Like, it'll use the one on its own, and if you click the other one, it'll use that too. Like, you can use them at the same time. Few people don't know that, so thought I'd point that out. Kind of turns advantageous. So once again, the Night Elf is using its awesome powers of building in the middle of nowhere to build a second expansion. I figured I'd point that out. Well, I noticed. So yeah, always a good thing to do is keep a statue with you, which is kind of why I opt away from the Ghoul Garg strategy, because it kind of limits your flexibility. I mean, at least if you have one crypt, you can get some gargoyles if they get, like, I don't know, Chimera or something ridiculous. So it's a good thing to have the versatility on your side, which is why I like going dual slaughterhouses. This is kind of a really risky battle for the Undead player, especially because of the fact that he's down, I don't know, 30 food in here, and he went to assault his base, and I'm kind of surprised that Meat Wagon got away, but still, it's kind of risky to run into a Night Elf space when they have the economic advantage, which means they can TP in and beat on a whole bunch of your crap, especially when you don't have any advantage, because they can really do some damage to your army while you're still TPing away. So, I don't know, he's done some interesting stuff this game, which I admire. Ugh, really not feeling the stuffed nose right now. Kind of driving me nuts. Anyways, Priest of the Moon doing some damage to the creeps. I thought I'd showcase that for you guys. Good lord, I had something to say. Jesus. Oh, about the Tier 3 strategy, which is the A-Bomb Meat Wagon. Generally, you want to keep like 4 A-bombs with you, unless they go mass bears, which then you want to get 2 destroyers, and you want to get the rest A-bombs. That way you can shield your heroes, and always friggin' go a Dreadlord third. This way you can use Sleep on the Dark Ranger, and they can't really do much about it for a couple seconds until they realize, OMG, slept. And it kind of becomes a bitch on the bears, especially because of how much damage output they do, and the fact that they're like Rejuve powerhouse. So yeah, that's always a good thing to notice. Oh, I remembered what I was going to talk about, which is good. Das good. Sorry, I thought I heard something outside. Anyways, one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of players have found, a lot of the good players know how to waste the opponent's time, and I've found that, through my travels, really, wasting more of your opponent's time than they've wasted of yours, it pretty much guarantees the fact that you're going to win. Interesting kind of battle type thing going on here. He's kind of got 2 armies. One is at his base, and the other one's actually fighting off a couple meat wagons, and he's used billions of dries just to go fight that off. So it's kind of weird. But it really doesn't synergize well, and you really want to, as an undead player, what the hell? You want to keep your army together, especially because, your meat wagons are going to beat a whole bunch of dryads on their own, because they'll just get sliced to shreds if they run towards them. So, you kind of want to keep your crap together. Otherwise, you're just screwed, especially because he's fighting them off with, 2 heroes and, 3 dryads in a tree. So, the fact that he's losing that badly is ridiculous. So, such is life. Bad luck TBing into a whole bunch of dryads, because you're really not going to get much killed, because they run like little bitches, and they are quick. So, anyways, back to the time-wasting thing. With the Dark Ranger, you really have the ability to waste your opponent's time in ridiculous amounts. All they can do is frost over your hero and maybe focus fire it a bit. And especially with the amount of, armor and hit points that this thing gets, and yes, I just called the Dark Ranger a thing, it's really hard to get rid of the Dark Ranger. And you can do a very effective job of harassing someone, and you can just gain so much more time. And if you go something like bears, you can just solo creep anyways. So you send those creeping out the whole map while they're stuck in their base because, your Dark Ranger is being a pain in the ass, and all they can really do is hover around your base. So, generally you can waste their time pretty badly with the Dark Ranger. With the Warden, you can pretty much do the same thing, but the best job that you can do is snipe off individual units and wait until they have a whole bunch of gargoyles to beat them down heavily. So, it seems that this is the easiest hero to do, the attack and move thing, to gain the most out of your damage output or whatever. The Priest of the Moon, that's what I was getting at. Kind of an interesting move. But one thing that nobody ever uses that I'm glad was used in this game was the anti-magic potion. Especially with the Priest of the Moon, because it can actually be nuked. Just adds to your harassment abilities. So, yeah, I was watching a Todd versus Sky, or Moon game. Sky, what the hell? Yes, I did watch one of those games just before this, actually. And I noticed that this is the VOD where Moon charms a peasant and builds a blood mage and an archmage. And I found out that Moon wasted so much of Todd's time with harassment and just being a pain in the ass with the skeletons. All you really have to do is creep out one camp, and you have 6 skeletons on your side to go and harass them. And then that becomes a pain in the ass. So, really, he wasted so much of Todd's time. He ended up creeping out half the map just because of how powerful the Dark Ranger is at creeping. And then he just, friggin' took over. It was ridiculous. Kind of felt bad for Todd because that's probably the most embarrassing thing. That's nerd ownage right there. Nerd burn. The biggest nerd burn in the world is to get your peasant charmed and used against you. Kind of bad timing on the silence, but it still works out the same anyways. Interesting use of roar. I thought that was weird that he used, his damage output thing while he was pretty much at the biggest disadvantage of the game. And, yeah. So it's kind of over right now. Anyways, talking about time wasting. So, yeah, if you can waste your opponent's time in ridiculous amounts, that's probably your best opening to win. And generally, if you can waste that much time of theirs, you've pretty much proved to yourself that you're a better player than they are anyways. So, yes, I can't really think of much else to say about that matchup, other than the fact that bears require destroyers to, beat them. Sometimes frost worms are an option. I find destroyers are nice because it limits the fact that they can't use rejuve or roar, and perhaps someone might invent a way to get an expo and mass both destroyers and frost worms. I feel used, really. It's just so hard being an audio commentator. Ugh, my life is terrible. Should be an emo kid. JK. Yeah, I'm not an emo kid. I'm quite gangster in the hood, so I'm just gonna end this off before I make more of a fool of myself. So thank you for listening, and peace out, G-Dogs.